So besides the cell styles option, the two other options that show up for the content section are the custom cell content and the remove mapping. All that the remove mapping does is it takes and it gets rid of what's currently in this box right here. So if I wanted to get rid of ticket number, I could click remove mapping and it'll kind of blank it out right there. So I'd have to come in and choose a new one. So that's useful if you don't want to delete a cell that has styles or things like that, but you want it to be blank now. So we're going to go ahead and put ticket number back in there. The more intense one is the custom cell content though. By default, we have it set up so that you can just pull a property off of a ticket in here, any of the different properties in there. And sometimes you just need other content in there, and that's where the custom cell content is. So if we click on that, it opens up a window in here where we can choose the custom cell content. So by default, this box is not checked. We are not using custom content. We're just pulling in the ticket property that we have in there. But we could go ahead and click on custom content and do some other stuff in here. So I'm going to create a new cell right here. And we are going to, what we'll probably do, let's bring in, this is an example with, let's do barrels. So we're going to bring in the loaded barrels. And what we want to do also, let's bring in the miles. So we're going to bring in a distance, and then we're going to use that as an example to come up with the number of barrels per mile or something like that. So let's do miles right here. So let's do loaded miles. And with other different fields, and if we want to reapply that style, you usually want to probably do style last just because you don't have to do this multiple times. But if I wanted to reapply it, I could do that. But with different types of properties over here at the bottom, there sometimes is the ability to do a format or a decimal option. So in this case, these are both numbers. So I'm going to just do my barrels rounded to 2 decimals, and I'm going to do 0 decimals for my miles, so it's like a whole number. Some of the other stuff in here, if I pull in like, let's do arrive time. So timestamp, driver arrived at, we'll do a pickup. So if I do that, then you gain access to this format column. So you could go ahead and choose, your date, time format or whatever in here, which sometimes gives you custom ones where you could type in a custom format where, the capital M's are months, lowercase d's are days, etc. But I'm just going to choose one of the default ones right there. So now that we kind of have some of the stuff in here, I'm going to add a new column, and we want to use custom content to take barrels and divide them by miles, which isn't necessarily a useful figure to have, but it is useful to be able to have this kind of tool set if there are cases where you need to do averages or things like that. So I'm going to come into here and choose custom content. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to save because we made some changes. I'm going to go into here, choose custom content, and I'm going to click use custom content in cell. And I'm going to give this a name. So it's usually a good idea to give this a pretty descriptive name to say what it is exactly that you're doing. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call this barrels divided by miles. And I'm going to go ahead and apply, even though I haven't done this yet. We'll go ahead and apply it. And you can see right here, if it's custom content, it's going to be italicized. There's not like a white drop down anymore. And there's a little blue flask right here to show that it's kind of like some custom stuff going on. So we've named this barrels divided by miles. We haven't actually done anything with it though. So we're going to go back into custom cell content, and we can choose a few different options in here. So we'll go through these in different sections, but what we want to do right now is just do an Excel function. We'll cover the other ones in different sections right here. But Excel function is one of the options, and we can do a couple different things here. If we choose Excel function, we can have it be a repeated data column sum, so we could sum up an entire column, which we're not going to do in this case. Instead, we're going to do a custom Excel function. So in here, we have to type in the custom Excel formula that we need. And one thing to note is $R is a placeholder for the row number that the function occurs on. So this does require you to have a little familiarity with Excel, how the different Excel functions work. But in theory, you could come in here and you could write index match functions. You could do VLOOKUPs. You could do whatever the heck you wanted to do in here with this little bit in here. But I'm going to go back out really fast. And we are doing column E divided by column F and whatever this row number is. So in order to do that, let's go back into custom cell content. and I'm going to choose Excel. I didn't save that, so Excel function again, custom Excel function. So we're doing E, and we don't know what the row number is. There's going to be a lot of different rows, so we're going to do #R, and then we're going to do divided by F #R. So what this will do is this is going to take, in this example, row 1 is kind of the headers, but in the second row, this would be cell E2 divided by cell F2, and then the next row would be E3 divided by F3. So we kind of have that function in there as we want to. And then the last thing in here is the ability to override the data type. I'm just going to set this to be a number, but you could set it to be none, a Boolean, which is a true or false. If it needed to be a currency, we could do that, percent, strings, numbers, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that and save, and later we'll go ahead and see an example here, and I can say, we're not going to round this. We're just going to do, well, maybe we'll round it to 2 decimals just so it doesn't give like 30 decimals when there's like an irrational number. But yeah, that's the custom content. The first part. We're going to go over the other options in there in the next section.